Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darragh O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Hey folks, welcome to the Wrestling Rewind here on YouTube, Twitch, nerdstonemedia.com, thewrestlingrewind.com, and wherever else you're checking us out, including Phoenix FM. My name is Darragh O'Connor, and we are live, which is pretty awesome because we don't really get to do that this often, but we want to kind of do it a little bit more. And we're going live before Money in the Bank, so this is an impromptu stream. We normally don't stream at this time, but hey, why not? So we're live just before Money in the Bank on the 7th of July. And I'm not alone. I'm joined by the one, the only Mr. 1-0, Martin Herty. How are things, Martin?
Darragh, we're live.
You know what, though? There was a really good video. I can't remember who did it, but I am going to drop it in the video description because, you know, this topic wouldn't have existed without that. I think it was like the rise and fall of WWECW or something like that. I will post it in the chat. Or in the description. Again, if this is your first time checking it out, please do subscribe. We appreciate everyone who subscribed so far on this channel. It's been really awesome to see. And then, you know, you can check us out on the radio, go over and get all of our content for free. It is eventually going to be on YouTube.
Every time we get a subscriber, Darragh texts me, he's like, oh my God, we have another subscriber. And we literally celebrate. We're like, every single one of you who just like want to join in on the crack, literally delights us. We're so happy.
It's like that bit in The Simpsons, you know, when someone buys Al Gore's book. And it's like, sir, someone's bought your book. He starts playing Celebration. That's literally us. That's what we do. So, but Martin, we can talk about Money in the Bank if you want to.
Is there anything on this that excites you? Is there something that you want to talk about?
The only two things that really matter here are the Money in the Bank ladder matches. I'm more just kind of shocked and appalled here by the fact that Cody isn't defending the belt. You know, it's too early in his reign to not do that. And instead of having like an actual title match, it's Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline B team. You know, someone said that the Bloodline now is like we're in the NWO B team era of the Bloodline. And I think that's
but you know what, like
honestly, that's what it feels like, man.
I was going to say that sounds right, but you know what? To be fair, I don't watch it week to week, so I don't feel that I'm in a position to say whether that's right or not. But what I will say is that I think me and you, who nobody can accuse us of, basing our opinions on WCW from, like,
a point of ignorance
or history or ignorance. Like we watched it.
We lived it.
Watched it die in front of our eyes. So yeah, man, I think if one of us had said that is an appropriate comparison, I would be very worried.
Yeah. I don't think it's that bad because obviously, look, the lads in the Bloodline now are quite good in the Paul Heyman segment. There was a really good Paul Heyman segment last week. But at the same time...
And we're going to talk a lot about Paul Heyman today.
We sure are. But at the same time, this Bloodline thing, it has very much run its course. And by diluting... Look, again, we like to do things on this show that, like, highlight lessons from the past, and very often they're just not listened to. And one of the lessons from the NWO is you don't dilute the group because eventually it loses its impact.
Yeah, you don't need 15.
No, you don't need 15 people. You know, it does lose its impact, you know. And then what happens is you end up with the band in TNA.
Impact.
You got Impact, and it's not good. You know, so all I can see here is, this is nothing was learned here. But look, that's worrying. So that's one thing I want to bring up. But the other thing is, like, who could win the men's Money in the Bank? The only one that makes sense to build for a future star is either Chad Gable, which he doesn't really need it, but LA Knight. give the opportunity to LA Knight. That's what I would do, because I mean he's a star just waiting for it, and what a better opportunity to have. Then that he can really kind of use that to get to the next level. But if you give it to Drew McIntyre, honestly, he doesn't need it. Well, Punk. Yeah, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to go on the record here. I'm going to go on the record. Oh. Punk is going to show up, right? And he's going to screw Drew McIntyre out of winning the briefcase. That is an absolute prediction. An absolute prediction right now. Right now. Yeah.
That's a solid prediction, right? But so here's my question: Punk screws Drew McIntyre thing.
Yeah.
Are we not near the point where that's tired?
It is, but SummerSlam is next month. And that's
okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. So if it's that's fair enough then. That's fair enough.
So like it does make sense. Drew McIntyre attacked Punk, left him for dead. This is kind of another thing, and then they build to the actual match at SummerSlam. So I think that's going to happen. Again, I'm glad we're doing this live, because usually when I do these predictions, they're not live and it's messy. But this one's up, so we'll see what happens. As far as
good. And to be fair to you, an awful lot of your predictions end up being accurate. So
we'll see on this one.
We call you Nostradara.
That one. Okay, the next one, the women's match. You know what? That match is probably going to be better than the men's match. It usually is. But yeah, other than that, it's a very mid-tier pay-per-view. Only 5 matches. There might be another one, but I have nothing really to talk about on Monday Night.
The wider issue, though, I think that's actually an interesting issue you've raised. The wider issue, look, AEW often gets criticized for having too many matches. But if you have a 3 or 4 hour pay-per-view with 5 matches, do you think that's the other extreme?
Yeah, look, I would rather 5 matches than 10 matches. I'll be honest with you. The days of sitting there for pay-per-views and just being like, please God, end. It's just, there is the 5 matches gives them some wiggle room. It's not like, ECW's December to Dismember, which had 2 matches and filler. But I can't do that one again.
But look, I
can't do that one again.
You prefer the 5 matches. I prefer the 10
it's not.
matches.
It's not that I prefer. It's
do
not
you
that I
think
prefer.
that there's maybe eight matches? Would you not be up for
That's what I was going to say.
Solidly built 8 matches.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say that the 5 matches gives them wiggle room, and I think less sometimes is more. But 5 is honestly too little. I would say the sweet spot is somewhere between 6 and 8
for a pay-per-view.
Yes,
and I know I'm the AEW guy, and I completely admit that. But 5 matches for a pay-per-view it's extracting the urine.
Well, you've set up something here. So, Martin, these aren't pay-per-views; these are PLEs.
Darragh, if you ever say PLE to me again, I'll get in my car and I'll drive down. I won't hit you because I love you, but I'll sit outside your house. I'll write a very strong letter.
That's fair. That's fair.
You ever say PLE to me again?
But you see what I mean? It's not the same mindset as a pay-per-view as such. But I do hear your point. I agree with it to an extent.
Maybe is that part of the reason why
I think so. Yeah.
Switch to PLE to make people think this is not this huge exclusive event that you pay $50 for. This is just kind of a, I don't know, just a sub that you pay to the stream.
No, I would see it more as it's in comics, for example. You buy certain issues and you buy your weekly issue, right? And then after 4 or 5 issues, it's usually they have a event book, and that's kind of what it is. Yeah,
comics do that.
Yeah.
No,
So
bugger. Yeah. I know we're on radio, so I can't say it, but
yeah, all right,
buggers.
But yeah, so that's what they'll do. They'll build up to a big event, and then sometimes it involves other characters and like that. So it's not. That's kind of the way they're doing it here. And look, it's fine.
Isn't it mad how many non-wrestling things are like wrestling. Like there's
Literally.
all these people who think they don't like wrestling, and then they explain what their hobby is, and then you sit there going, "Nah, man, you like wrestling."
Well, see, that's why
That's wrestling.
But that's why we've done 2 panels, listeners. If you're checking us out, go over and check out the 2 panels we've done at Comic-Con, where I just describe literally how everything is wrestling, where people
They're
just shout out
literally
stuff.
called "Everything is Wrestling."
Yeah.
And do you know what?
Yes.
He's the real.
But look, before we go into the main meat and potatoes of this week's show, Forbidden Door was a little while ago. Not too long ago, but
2 days.
yeah, not too long ago, but it was a little while ago. And I made it 5 minutes, Martin. So I apologize.
Know, Darragh.
I know. I tried, and I just can't.
Darragh,
Like main event stars for me would be the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Actually, there's okay. If I was given the book or to pick one match, the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Elite. There you go.
oh,
I'd love
but
that.
we might actually get that.
No, but that's what I'm saying to you. It should be on this card. That should be like the main event, not like Swerve. I like Swerve Strickland a lot. I just the poor guy is just. This match kind of did a lot for him, but it just has no. I know some people are saying this is the greatest match of all time, which is fair. Okay, but I would have rather had that as the main event, but I didn't. So,
But like as a realistic thing, we might actually end up with the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Young Bucks.
yeah, which would be unbelievable. Like, that would deliver on every single measure you can put. In the ring, story wise, just what they can do.
Then, after 3 years, Darragh will finally admit he is an AEW fan.
No, I'm a TNA fan. I'm a TNA fan.
Do you know what? I actually admire your commitment. Darragh is a TNA fan, and I really admire that.
Yeah, like I appreciate it. And look, I appreciate the passion, but what I'm going to do is, Martin, I'm going to give you uninterrupted 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. You can decide. Just gush about how great Forbidden Door was. I'm going to give you an open mic. Not going to say anything. Go for it.
Forbidden Door was a continuation of perhaps the greatest pay-per-view legacy in wrestling history. I honest to God don't know if they're genuinely, and I know you've given me 5 minutes talking uninterrupted, but I honestly don't know if there has been a string of pay-per-views, like one after the other, where each one has been legitimately incredible. I don't know if there's ever been a string that's better than this. Forbidden Door was incredible. I mean, if we're going to, here's the best way I can accurately describe how good it was. John Moxley versus Naito was one of the weakest matches of the night. John Moxley versus Naito. I mean, and it was great. It wasn't it was a brilliant match, but the level of in-ring just intensity and storytelling and violence. I honest to God, sometimes I'll admit this, I say WWE in a kind of derogatory tone, and I would say, "Oh, someone's a WWE fan," as if that's a lesser thing, and I want to apologize for that, because it's not. It's just a different thing. But ever since AEW has come along, AEW has not only been its own company, but it has strived to be a kind of center of wrestling. Not the center, but a center of wrestling. So it has brought in Mexican companies and Japanese companies and independent companies, and it has acknowledged the accomplishments of WWE and WCW and ECW, even when like with WCW, when WWE would ever acknowledge what they've done, they have acknowledged what other companies have done, because they've styled themselves as the kind of guardians of pro wrestling as a whole. And I just think, one, on an individual basis, Forbidden Door was just a sensational pay-per-view, and two, on a wider, like when you consider it on a wider basis, Forbidden Door is so important. Like, it's such an incredibly important pay-per-view in regards to wrestling as a whole. Wrestling needs this kind of interconnectivity. Wrestling dies when we have these companies that only exist on their own and they don't acknowledge that other companies exist.
I 100% agree with that. 100%. And look, you can say I can say a lot of things. We can say a lot of things about this show. We're not our biases are clearly flown, and I try to be as fair as I can. Two, I dislike Tony Khan in many ways, but I will say one good thing about him, and it's true, right? He is an incredible talent spotter. He's able to find talent incredibly well. So maybe that's a job for him down the line, you know? And he's able to put together great dream matches and dream cards, in a sense. So, you know, fair play to him. Like, as I said, it's like, these are, for fans of this kind of wrestling, for this kind of stuff, these are matches that a lot of people would want to see. And you can't take that away, you know? I mean, what you said is 100% right. And they've changed the game. And so, like, AEW have changed the game in such a way where it's just like, this is possible. This is something that could be done. And this has an audience. So you can't take that away. I agree with you 100%.
But
there's no but.
No but. Oh.
No but.
Oh,
there's
Darragh.
no but.
Disappointed.
Well, speaking of, if you want some negativity,
let's get into it.
You want some negativity? Here's the time where we do jump in the time machine, right? So ECW One Night Stand came back 2005. And it was great. People really liked the Rise and Fall of ECW documentary, which is a very, very good documentary still, even by WWE standards. We had the One Night Stand, and then we had, again, One Night Stand in 2006. And obviously, the Rob Van Dam booking was he was going to win the title at the pay-per-view and set up this third brand. Now, Martin, I don't know how much research you've done on this. Initially, Shane McMahon wanted to push for this. So Shane McMahon actually wanted ECW to be brought back. He's like a huge fan of the whole ECW thing. And not only did he want to bring it back, he wanted to bring it back as a online only show. So something kind of like the way Velocity was, but you know, more kind of like a tight developmental show, but also purely online, about an hour. And that's it, where they could try stuff out, be completely different, and be under the radar of WWE, which apparently was actually the plan. That was 100% the plan. Everything was grand. And then Sci-Fi got in the way. They came to WWE and they're like, we want a show. Here's money. Vince saw the money. That went out the window. It didn't have that much of a budget, so they couldn't. So apparently they were going to do like tapings in Las Vegas. And that's where the home base is supposed to be, kind of like what Impact would do a couple of years later on, what they're doing now even. So instead of doing that, they just decided, hey, we'll tape before SmackDown in front of a WWE audience.
Well, this is where I owe you a kind of, if not an apology, but definitely an explanation. So listeners won't know that earlier in the week, me and Darragh had a bit of a discussion about, there was rumors about Shane McMahon going to AEW. And Darragh was like very enthusiastic with all the different things he could do. And I was incredibly dour, just going, no, Shane McMahon, ever. No. But I actually think I was a bit unfair. Like, I maintain my position no Shane McMahon ever in AEW,
Hmm.
but I think I was a bit harsh in that Shane McMahon has done a lot of really incredible things. He did want Vince to buy UFC, and
Yes.
Vince lost out on a multi-billion-dollar company because of that. He did want to take ECW, like you said, and make it a separate thing. And I think and I don't even like calling it WWECW, but if they were really going to take over ECW, what that needed was exactly what Shane McMahon said. It should have been brought to smaller arenas. It should have been entirely separate from the rest of WWF or WWE, whatever it was. And it should have made completely its own thing.
Yeah.
So, like,
this was doomed from the start, basically.
yeah.
By moving on,
but not because of what it was. Like, ECW 100% could have worked. 100% could have worked. And like I was saying, like, we can make fun of like Shane McMahon, but ECW 100% could have worked, and it didn't. But not because of what it was. It didn't work because of the decisions that were made, which we are about to discuss.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, it's like if there's lots of missed opportunity in it. So we talk about missed opportunity an awful lot with this show specifically on the Rewind. WCW is full of them. ECW is not so much full of them during its actual run. Financially was the real problem there. This problem was 100% creative. It had ECW and didn't understand what ECW was. So instead of doing that, they kind of did their own thing, and it just didn't click. Now, I would even say, so we have the One Night Stand review up. That's me and Dave did that show a couple of years ago. So I will just link that below. It's up on the channel. And we were saying that
it's a good one.
Thank you.
One night, like, I think we should say, yeah, the podcast was a good one, but One Night Stand was a very good show.
It was, yeah. It was. But as we said on that show, it had a lot of cracks. You compare the first One Night Stand to the second one, it's a very different show. You know, it's like, it still has a lot of the ECW things, but having Kurt Angle there, having Randy Orton there, having it much more WWE-ified. And nothing actually sums it up more than Taz versus Jerry Lawler. It's such a weird match because it's not a match. But so there were some warning signs there, and Rey Mysterio versus Sabu, that again was a big red flag for me.
But in terms of, so you're 100% right about One Night Stand. One Night Stand was a great pay-per-view, but it did have a lot of elements that were WWE, and if you want to create a new ECW, you kind of want to separate it from that as much as possible. So let's forget One Night Stand. Let's talk about this.
So we are jumping into the time machine a couple of days after the second One Night Stand, June 13th, 2006, from Trenton, New Jersey, from the Sovereign Bank Arena. And it is the debut show of WWE ECW. So straight off the bat, we have an opening, pretty cool video package, really cool opening, and then it opens in the arena.
Well, this is what I was going to say.
Weird.
That it actually starts great.
Yeah, it does start great. And
got a great opening package, and the opening promo. Even though I love RVD, but he's not a mic man.
He's not.
He's not a mic man.
But
listen, you can be a top guy and not a mic man. Like, you can be.
But he did have probably the greatest mic man in history there with him in Paul Heyman.
Darragh, this is why we are birds of a feather. I literally have this right down on my notes. So you had a great opening. You had, before he spoke, RVD coming out, and the crowd was wild for him as WWE champion.
Yes.
The unveiling of the ECW title, like everything with him, like Heyman is just gold. Like there's, you could give Heyman anything, and he would make it great. And this whole segment sort of unfolded where Heyman crowned RVD as the new ECW champion. Adam Copeland came out, who I think they call in WWE, they call him Edgy. Is it Edgy they call him?
Edge.
Sorry about that. So they call him Edge. Lita was also with him, and Lita's top seemed to be held together mostly with, I think it was Faith. Was it Faith?
But the reason why Edge was there, he was an invited guest because he helped RVD win the title the night before.
With a helmet.
With a helmet.
No less.
And basically the storyline here was
homage, I believe, to when the Nasty Boys beat the Hart Foundation.
Was it?
I don't know, but that happened with a helmet, and I just like to show off.
Oh, that's
Darragh,
fair.
I'm sorry, I just need validation.
No, that's fair. But so
I just need to know that I haven't wasted my life, that these little tidbits I've picked up have some sort of value.
So the storyline going into this was that Edge was the invited guest and he was there to help celebrate with ECW. Turns out he wasn't, turned on RVD, attacked RVD, and John Cena ran out for some reason. And basically because like ECW guys interfered with his match, he's now going to show up on any show. And already, Martin,
I actually didn't mind the Cena interruption. And I say that as someone who's not a Cena fan, but I didn't mind it because that the Edge and RVD interaction had already happened in the ring.
Yeah.
And Edge had jumped out and gotten into the crowd. And it was just kind of different. That
it was different, but the only thing about
rather than the music hitting or turning around, that kind of reveal that Cena was there happened out in the crowd. I just thought that was kind of different.
The only thing that is a red flag with that is that it wasn't Rhino or Raven. And look, I know those guys turned down the contract and a few of them are in TNA, but it wasn't an ECW guy. You know, it wasn't like Tommy Dreamer was there. Or something. It was literally the top guy.
Let me ask you
WWE.
this, Darragh, as the TNA expert, not just on this podcast, in the world.
Right,
how bad was the WWE contract that the likes of Raven and Rhino decided to stay in TNA?
So look, I know again from this video, which I will post, that the contracts for a lot of the lower guys was 1 year, and they kind of knew, look, we're only going to get a year out of it.
$12.
Look, probably I don't know.
6% of T-shirt sales,
which is 0% of 12% of zero is still zero. But no, what I will say is I don't think it was because the contracts are bad. Because look, I guarantee you, Sabu, RVD, those kind of contracts were quite good, and the contracts that Raven, Rhino stuff would have been pretty good too. The issue there isn't as much that the contracts are bad; it's that in TNA, Rhino literally burned the ECW title. He's like, I am the last champion. I'm setting this on fire, and he did, right? So the reason that Rhino didn't come back was because he didn't want to. He was in TNA, and same with Raven, he had already like established himself there. So I don't think they really needed to, and obviously the deal that TNA had with them was probably a lot better. So that hurt them. I don't think it was a WWE's fault. It was kind of like, and they might have just known this is a bad idea. Like, I'm not going to lie. Look, as bad as this show was, and it was bad, Sabu's music hit, and I was thrilled. I like straight away took it back to being back in 2006, where I got to see Sabu. And I'm like, yay. He's just awesome.
Frankly, Darragh, you'd have to be a heartless monster to hear Sabu's music and not the pop.
Absolutely. It's just, and it's sad because it's just like his match with Cena at Vengeance was actually quite good, even though the ending was wrong. It's just like, but they're never going to give the win to Sabu. But I have to say, Cena having a match with Sabu is wild. There's a great match, and we probably will cover it at some point, that Samoa Joe has in TNA at a lockdown. And Sabu has a broken arm. And he's just having a phenomenal match, like, for Sabu. And it's with a broken arm. And it doesn't matter, because it's botching everywhere and random chair shots. And, it's just wonderful. And to see him have that match with John Cena at Vengeance is like, damn, fair play, Cena. You're really in there with Sabu, and he just does not care.
You know what? It's one of those things. I do not like John Cena as a wrestler. I can't get into his matches, can't get into his character. But every time I see him outside of wrestling, I'm like, what a guy.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I wish I didn't hate him within the fiction of pro wrestling.
It really is a shame because, like, as an actor and like outside, he's great, but he
does a lot of charity stuff, and he does all the Make-A-Wish stuff, and in all his movies, he's like, it's not as if he's in. Do you know what actually is different from him from The Rock? Like in all the Rock's movies, he's like really cool.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm fucking big muscles and I'm deadly and I'm cool. But in a lot of the movies that John Cena's done, he's like kind of the butt of the joke.
Yeah, but that's why they're better movies. Like Peacemaker is amazing.
Peacemaker's incredible.
Yeah,
and even Trainwreck, which I think is kind of a
Trainwreck's really fun, actually. Yeah, because of Cena.
It's a bit long, but Cena in it is incredible. Like, he is so willing to make fun of himself. I honest to God, I like John Cena so much outside of wrestling, but in wrestling, I fucking hate him.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But what I'm saying is his match with Sabu at Vengeance actually isn't terrible. It's one of the and this is like peak Super Cena era. It hasn't run off the rails just yet, but they'd made the decision to be like, no, Cena is what we're going to do. So for him to go and have a match with Sabu and just take everything Sabu has, it is pretty cool to see, and it's one of the only real highlights of this ECW kind of thing.
Talking about this ECW thing, man, like, people can say what they want about the new ECW show, but you had Rob Van Dam show up, the new, not only the ECW, but the WWE champion.
Yes.
Paul Heyman was there, like a top guy.
Yes.
And then the next thing, Edge shows up with Lisa and her magnificent magical tits. And then out of nowhere, John Cena appears. Like if anybody thought that the WWE wasn't taking this ECW thing seriously, then they'd have big smelly eggs on their face, because we got a load of stuff here in the first 5 minutes. You're talking about top guys, top stars, top storylines. Like, this is proof positive that the WWE is taking ECW seriously. This was incredible.
And
Darragh, what was the next segment?
And then we come back from break with weird organ music playing for some reason, and out walks the Zombie.
Suddenly, Martin's hilarious setup comes to pass.
And the commentators of Joey Styles and Taz are like, what is this? And then the Sandman comes out and canes the hell out of him for 17 seconds. So there's a guy dressed here as a zombie. Like, he has a flannel shirt and his hair's all messy and he's wearing weird paint, and it's a whole thing.
I think we've talked about this before, why this happened.
Yes.
So Sci-Fi wanted an alien.
Yes.
And WWE said to them, hey man, an alien's not realistic in wrestling. Let's have a zombie.
The guy's name is Tim Arson, and he burned this entire thing down.
Arson Roberts.
Tim Arson Roberts.
And he did what?
He was an independent wrestler, and he's not dead. So already it's a win.
Darragh, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but his name is Tim Arson Roberts, and he is dead.
Is he dead?
He's dead.
Oh my god!
I know we've actually had a really good run. So like when we started this podcast, we had, several months where every time we talked about a wrestler, they were dead. And then it got to the stage where it was kind of a joke, because we'd be like, oh, what about this wrestler? We'd be like, oh, he's not dead. Hey! But when I looked this up earlier, I was actually saddened to find out that Tim Arson Roberts is fully dead.
Oh.
He is a human being who has died, some kind of heart failure while he was in bed. So he didn't suffer, unlike when he was made to be the zombie. He was a really, really well-regarded independent wrestler. He worked for lots of independent companies. He wasn't like a millionaire or anything, but he, like I've always wanted to be a wrestler, and I trained to be a wrestler for 2 years, and I wrestled with a company in Cork, but like I was never actually good enough to be a wrestler. I did a lot of refereeing. I did some run-ins. Like I was quite good at taking bumps, so I would do some run-ins, like at Christmas where I'd be Santa and I get slammed through a table or whatever. But I was never actually good enough to be a wrestler. And I think no matter what your dreams are, I think at some stage you have to accept that you're not the best. You're not good enough. And I don't know. I think it's unfair to judge Tim Arson Roberts as the zombie, because I bet you if you look at the indie scene, I bet he's got a load of great matches. I bet he's got a load of great things that happen to him. And I wouldn't want to die and be remembered as the zombie. Sorry, Darragh.
No. Honestly, I think that's it's such a bummer.
It's so depressing.
We went through
I'm so unhappy.
We went through like a run of like 4 months where no one died, and it was great.
Nobody died. It's bad. And sometimes we would we'd be like talking about guys from WCW, and we'd like, oh my god, I haven't heard from them in ages, and we'd look them up, and they'd be like, oh, he's a manager of a local toy store in Illinois, and he's doing really well. Oh, I would be so happy. Oh, this is depressing.
Well, look, the match was also very depressing. So,
and even the word match is an exaggeration.
I can't believe it was 17 seconds of nothing. And the Sandman, like on commentary, they're even like, "Oh, Sandman hasn't even finished the second beer yet." You're like, "Oh my god, this is a bad start. It started off so well and is already on fire in front of everybody."
Before the next match, we had Kelly.
Yes,
And
the
Kelly
debut
said,
of
hello.
Kelly. So after that, there was so little on this show. They were like,
Well, this
here's a big chunk
it's a
of
1 hour show.
yeah, here's a big chunk
When
of
you
one night
take out
stand
the
for some reason.
ads, it's a 45-minute show. But then when you take out like all the clips of like one night stand, this must have been half an hour, maybe less.
There's a
25 minutes.
there's a good saying, and it's usually in writing. It's like, if you remind the audience of something better, it's instantly going to like distract from your show. And that's what happened here. It's like, hey, remember that awesome show that we did? Yeah. Here's a clip of it. And then they're like, and now we have PJ Polacco.
It was exactly. Yeah.
You know, they brought out Kurt Angle, who's legitimately great. He looked really, really good in this. Just incredible, PJ Polacco. I mean, I know we give him
Love it.
some stick.
And I'm annoyed that you said PJ Polacco because I wanted to reveal it. But yes,
I think he's hilarious.
Were you not hyped to see PJ Polacco?
I popped a fair bit, but not because I was like excited to see him, but I was just like, oh look, we get to talk about PJ Polacco.
You made me watch that goddamn TNA pay-per-view, and I'll never let you forget it.
For context, Martin was like, I want to watch a show where ECW got to book their own show, and I was like, oh, I've just the one.
Let me just say that PJ Polacco match, obviously, it was a squash. It wasn't like a squash, like Kurt Angle didn't come and kill him. But there was a couple of really cool moves. Like Kurt Angle got, here's one thing I'd say, Kurt Angle got like a really cool kind of neck crank on Just Incredible that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why I've never seen it before. Like, it's so cool. It reminded me of the do you know the way me and you used to always talk about the Bret Hart figure 4 post spot?
Yes.
We're like, why is nobody else doing that? It's just amazing spot. Actually, Serena Deeb did it at the weekend. It was incredible. Really? But apart from that, I've never seen it before. And it just kind of reminded me of this Kurt Angle spot. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
But you know what was really good? Just before that happened as well, the fact that he just headbutts him is like so aggressive.
Darragh, this is why we're the business. This is why we're a team. Because you said that, and I'm looking down right here in my notes, and right here in capital letters it says headbutt.
You know what's great though, Martin? I mean, I know I'm excited for you to see this and for the audience to see it. When we look at good TNA and Kurt Angle's peak Perk Angle run, this is the Kurt Angle you see. This is like, he obviously gets let go in a couple of weeks, if not like 3 weeks later. And then he ends up in TNA and he's just perked out of his mind and jumping out, doing moonsaults off cages. And it's just phenomenal. So like, Kurt Angle's health wasn't great at this point, but my God, wrestling machine he definitely was. And it's a shame, like they had I get this, right? They had Kurt Angle there at this point, and instead of using them, they're like, WWE is a lot of things, particularly at this point, where they're like, oh yeah, they actually make a good moral decision, which you have to give them credit for, and it turns out to be a massive L for them. It's like, oh okay. So
when he left WWE, his TNA career was it like 5 years? How long was he in TNA?
About 5-6 years, yeah.
5 or 6 years, yeah. So,
and he had the run of his career there. It's a shame.
Oh my God, he absolutely had the, like, when you think of his career, like, so a lot of people are complaining that Will Ospreay has like 7 5-star matches and Kurt Angle has none. But part of the reason Kurt Angle doesn't have any 5-star matches is because he had to have most of his matches in the WWE system, where like you're kind of restricted in what you can and can't do. I actually agree that what he did in TNA should have been reevaluated, because some of the stuff that you've shown me with Samoa Joe,
Oh, it's out of this world.
That's
Out
all
of this world.
time.
Yeah, and
All
look,
time stuff.
that's why when we are going to do our TNA run relatively soon, it's just out of this world good, you know. So it's unfortunate that WWE had this, and they're like, oh well, you know, we got to let him go. But
the other unfortunate thing is that the thing that brought Kurt Angle, what an amazing all-time wrestling star. Kurt Angle's last ever match was a WWECW house show.
Yeah.
In which he got injured, and that was it. Like, that's
they do another.
so depressing.
What you know, it's also depressing on this is that we have a clip of Kelly, and then they show a clip then of the rise and fall of ECW book, right? Right. And the thing of it is, it's all these really cool things. You know, it's like, you know, the crazy spots, the great wrestling, the ring collapse, the violence.
Fell like my bra.
No, but we see all this really cool stuff from ECW, and then you're reminded that you're watching this show where we've seen Sabu hit, you know, a zombie around the place, and we've seen a 2-minute match with Kurt Angle and PJ Palaco, and then it hard cuts to Kevin Thorne, who's a vampire for some reason on ECW.
Yes. I'm glad you took note of this. I thought you might miss this, but yes, I have literally written down here in my notes, vampire.
So, fun fact, Kevin Thorne was my first ever interview, ever, many moons ago, and he is a super nice guy. I do not have the audio of that. If I did, I would pop it in the show.
And you survived.
I did.
If they had taken this and made it completely separate, like put it in smaller venues, made it like an online only thing, like Shane McMahon was saying, and actually let the ECW guys like properly make it easy, not PG ECW, like actually go hell for leather and let it be a separate thing. I think this could have fully succeeded 100%. This is yet another open goal that the WWE has had over the past 30 years.
So
booted into the stands.
I just want to say I was right. Punk has just cost Drew McIntyre the match.
Oh, we're on the live, baby. Well, here, let me ask you about this then. Right. So Punk's cost Drew McIntyre the match. Right, grand. Is that it now? Do we need it now? Do we need a match?
Yes.
Right. Because we can't have another.
No.
Punk causes, because this has been going on for so long.
Yeah. No. So SummerSlam is next month, so they'll do it then. But there you go.
But
you know what?
He's not healthy.
I know he is. But you know what's great, right? I'm glad that we actually have like a live record of it. A live record of it happen. So there we go. We've danced around the main event on this for a while, right?
Yes.
The thing that bummed me out about this main event was it was actually cool. You know, Sabu was there, as we said. It was great to see Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer cried for 15 minutes. And you know, Stevie Richards showed up. They had Al Snow ahead. It was fun. And the all were able to bring weapons. It was a cool little kind of thing. And then
one of the things that upset me before you get to the then, because the then is a good point. So I want to raise this before we get to the then.
Sure, go on.
So before we got to this whole Battle Royale was advertised with all these previous like clips of ECW, and they were all Mick Foley and Terry Funk.
And then out walks Balls Mahoney. And look, Balls Mahoney is you know, this Balls Mahoney, and no disrespect to him, but
like if I went outside tomorrow and I walked down to the bus stop and Balls Mahoney was there, oh my God, Balls Mahoney!
Well, you can't because
What a pleasure to meet you. What are
You
you
can't-
doing here on the East Belfast?
so Martin, this is where we go back into the sad because
Oh,
you can't go and see Balls Mahoney, and you can't be randomly in East Belfast because he's dead. Poor Balls Mahoney, just like, oh, okay, there's Balls Mahoney, that's fair, and then I made the mistake of Googling him, so just don't, just don't.
Well, here,
Don't.
Depressing stuff aside, let me ask you this.
Go on.
This is ECW, and we're going to have a battle royale, and this battle royale is going to be no holds barred. So, has there ever been a battle royale that wasn't no holds barred?
Well, see, I don't think it's no holds barred. I think it's because there's weapons involved. But the thing about it is they've already done.
Battle royale in which
I appreciate what they were trying to do. I think where this fell down, and it fell down hard, was when you had all the lads in the ring, and you're like, okay, this could be cool. I haven't seen the FBI guys in a while. Roadkill, obviously, Balls Mahoney's out there. Al Snow is there, which was actually a bit of genius because a lot of people don't know Al Snow was in ECW.
I like seeing Al Snow.
The music hit, and it was the Big Show. The Big Show in person is a sight to see. Okay, he is. He's a legitimate draw, a sight to see. However, nothing screams less ECW than the Big Show. And this is where the wheels and a bigger problem really just collapsed. I don't know why they did it. Don't know why they figured he would be a good draw to ECW with the fan base again. I mean, he's great talent in WWE, did a lot, blah, blah, blah. But no. And then he went in and just decimated everybody. Everybody looked like a jobber towards him. And that's not what you want. I mean, like, look, as you said, the video package had Mick Foley and Terry Funk. Well, there were some talents in there that, obviously were just joke talents in the grand scheme of things. There were some that could have actually made up your undercard and your midcard and your uppercard. And Big Show went in and killed them all.
But here's my question. Is this what killed ECW? Did the fan base back then, like, if you present them with a zombie, were they cool with that?
Well, look, I remember it rather clearly. And to answer your question, like, obviously Sabu would win this, and the ending actually was quite cool. Sabu did hit some of his main spots. The chairs were used. The table, yes. the table spot with Tommy Dreamer was also quite good. But so the match wasn't bad. It actually wasn't that bad. It was okay. Battle royales can be kind of the same. I thought this was a clever spin on it. But what killed this was, like, dead, was RVD and Sabu getting busted a couple of weeks into this. That's what killed it. Like, it was gone. Just on this battle royale itself, you could have 4 matches in a smaller arena, have one being a hardcore match at the end to crown a new title defense or to crown a TV champion, and there you go. I mean, it was not a hard assignment. They were given, I think what made this fail was they were given a very, very clear remit and spec sheet, and Vince is like, I'm just going to do what I want. And
Darragh, this is mad. This is literally the last thing I have written in my notes.
Stop, folks.
I'm not even doing
we actually we don't share notes beforehand, so
we don't share notes beforehand. But normally we even do the show on a Friday. So literally, this show happened like just as a guy texts her going, "Oh, I'm only sitting here playing Far Cry. Are you free?" Literally, we have not come up. I have literally here in my notes that if this show had been something else, like, this show had the potential if people had been placed in different positions, like far from being an embarrassment, far from being the death of ECW, if they had taken the show and they had put it in, say, smaller arena, and not just a small arena because they couldn't fill it, because obviously, like, look at WWE at the time, like they could fill massive arenas, but it doesn't matter. It's ECW. It's not meant to be a massive arena.
No, it's not. Like, look, they could have. If they were in New Jersey, right? They could have literally.
If they'd put it in a small, like, not even the one time. If they'd put it in a smaller arena, if they'd said to those guys, "Yes, be as violent as you like," if they'd put it in a smaller arena, and even let's say they get a TV deal and they say, make it a rated R, and even if they couldn't get that, then put it on online and make it rated R. But even if they wouldn't do that, just if they had created this aura around it that it was something else and it was something different, and it was like, oh my god, like it was something difficult to access, something difficult to see, like, oh, it happens in an arena but only at 1,500 people. I'll do
you one better, right? It's on Sci-Fi. Your tagline is, it's out of this world, right? So that's your tagline. You do it, and they're in New Jersey for this, right? So we're just going to go where they were. They have a small gym, high school gym, and they fill that. And they have, its own kind of thing. They could have some kind of entry point into it where it's like, it gets you just out of the world kind of thing, like a fight pit or something, Do you
think that this was just a miscalculation? Or do you think this Vince absolutely taking the set of ECW?
No, that would come later. That would come much later. I think what happened was, from what I've seen and what I've read, apparently they did want to do it in a smaller way, but didn't meet WWE production standards. So again, I don't think Vince was to blame here. It was Kevin Dunn, which is probably a much bigger issue here, and he doesn't get blamed, which he should get blamed, because a lot of the weird stuff on WWE television, like production-wise, is a Kevin Dunn problem. So look, Martin, you were saying, was this jab at WWE expense for Vince? No, when he gave the belt to himself, that's when that was done. When he had do-rag Vince, that's when. God. Yeah, that was when that was done. So we haven't got there yet.
This is why I love talking to you, Darragh, because you are the encyclopedia. I am the search bar. You are the encyclopedia.
Yeah, so I mean, he would do it, but it would take him another 2 years to get around to really, really jabbing that knife in. Was this show good? It started off well. It ended kind of okay, had moments, but overall it was.
Well, here's the problem. It started off great. It started off like, holy hell, there could actually be a new era of ECW, and within 20 minutes. And the only reason it took 20 minutes is because the opening promo was 20 minutes long. You pretty much found out that it wasn't going to be. Now, the issue was that they filmed this as a part of Raw. So, or SmackDown, whichever. They would do that, and then they'd record ECW, right? The only way this could have succeeded was take it into smaller arenas, tour it, make it ECW its completely own thing, and let it live or die on that. Like, and if it dies because it's ECW. But take it around the country, tour it, let the ECW guy. Don't have John Moxley coming in doing his. Not John Moxley, he's awesome. John Cena. Don't have John Cena coming in doing his big old 12 degrees of fanny moves. Like, let the ECW guys do their ECW thing. Put it in smaller arenas. Like if you had toured an a full-on ECW show in arenas that hold 500 people, that would have sold out everywhere for the next 10 years.
I think so. So, folks, please go over to our Patreon, nerdtoknowmedia.com. TheWrestlingRewind.com is how you can get to them as well. If this is your first time checking us out, thank you so much. We will be back next week to talk about something. I don't know what yet, but we will figure it out. And for Martin, for myself, and for Dave, we'll see you next week here on The Wrestling Rewind.
Yeah, more or less.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.